What if I told you that right now inside your body there are tiny cancer cells trying to grow? Not someday, not in the future, right now. It sounds alarming, but this is something most doctors don't explain clearly. Your body is constantly producing abnormal cells as part of natural processes. In fact, this happens in everyone regardless of age, lifestyle, or genetics. The real difference between people who stay healthy and those who develop serious disease is not whether these cells exist, but whether the body can control and eliminate them. Here's where it gets even more concerning. For many people, the systems responsible for controlling these cells, your immune defenses, your repair mechanisms, your internal cleanup crew, are slowly weakening over time. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. Day by day, year by year, influenced by chronic inflammation, poor diet, and hidden metabolic stress. And the most dangerous part? You won't feel it happening. There are no early warning signs, no pain, no obvious symptoms. Everything seems normal until it isn't. By the time most people notice something is wrong, the process has already been developing for years beneath the surface. But here's the part that might surprise you the most. This process is not entirely out of your control. In fact, there is growing scientific evidence showing that specific nutrients found in simple, everyday foods can influence how your body responds to these abnormal cells. They can strengthen your defenses, support your repair systems, and even help your body remove damaged cells more effectively. And one of the most overlooked foods linked to these effects is something incredibly simple, inexpensive, and often ignored. Most people walk past it in the grocery store without a second thought. But what researchers are now discovering about it is changing how we understand disease prevention at a cellular level. So, the real question is not whether these cells exist in your body. The real question is, are you giving your body what it needs to deal with them? For decades, most people have been taught to believe that serious diseases like cancer are mainly caused by genetics, smoking, or obvious unhealthy habits. And while those factors do play a role, they are only part of the picture. This common belief creates a dangerous misunderstanding that if you don't smoke, eat relatively well, and have no family history, you are somehow safe. But that is not how the body truly works. In reality, disease development is influenced by a much more complex and ongoing process. It is not just about a single cause, but about the environment inside your body, your internal terrain. This environment is shaped daily by what you eat, how your body processes nutrients, and how well it manages inflammation and cellular repair. Two people can have similar genetics and lifestyles, yet experience completely different health outcomes. Why? Because their bodies are not operating under the same internal conditions. One may have a system that efficiently repairs damage and controls abnormal cells, while the other may have a system weakened by chronic inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, or metabolic imbalance. This is where nutrition becomes far more powerful than most people realize. Every day, the foods you consume are either supporting your body's defense systems or slowly weakening them. Certain nutrients can strengthen cell membranes, reduce inflammation, and improve how your body responds to abnormal cells. Others can do the opposite, creating an environment where damage accumulates faster than your body can repair it. The problem is that many people focus only on what to avoid rather than what to include. They try to eliminate bad habits, but never actively provide the nutrients their body needs to function at a higher level. So instead of asking, what causes disease, a more useful question is, what does my body need to stay resilient? Because once you understand that, everything begins to shift from fear of disease to control over your health. Now, let's talk about one of the most overlooked foods that fits this exact role, a food that is incredibly simple, affordable, and yet surprisingly powerful: sardines. At first glance, sardines don't seem impressive. Many people think of them as an old-fashioned or even unappealing food, something their grandparents might have eaten out of necessity rather than choice. But this perception is completely misleading. In reality, sardines are one of the most nutrient-dense foods available, delivering a concentrated combination of essential nutrients that directly support your body's ability to protect and repair itself. What makes sardines even more remarkable is their accessibility. Unlike expensive superfoods or specialized supplements, sardines are widely available and cost very little. This means that one of the most powerful nutritional tools for supporting your health is not hidden behind a high price it's sitting on a shelf in a small, inexpensive tin, But the real advantage of sardines becomes clear when you compare them to larger fish like tuna, salmon, or swordfish. Large fish sit higher on the marine food chain. Over time, they accumulate heavy metals such as mercury, along with microplastics and other environmental toxins. The longer a fish lives and the higher it sits in the food chain, the more contaminants it tends to store in its body. This means that while larger fish can still provide nutrients, they may also come with unwanted exposure to harmful substances. Sardines, on the other hand, are very small fish that feed primarily on plankton and microscopic algae. Because of this, they are at the very bottom of the food chain. They live short lives and do not have the opportunity to accumulate significant amounts of toxins. As a result, sardines are considered one of the cleanest and safest sources of marine nutrition available. Think of it like this. Choosing sardines is like drinking fresh water from a mountain spring, while choosing larger fish is more like drinking water that has already passed through multiple layers of contamination. Both may provide hydration, but one is clearly purer and more reliable. Another important advantage is that sardines are typically consumed whole, including their soft, edible bones. This means you are not only getting high-quality protein and healthy fats, but also important minerals like calcium and phosphorus in a highly bioavailable form. Few other foods offer this combination in such a compact and natural package. In a world where people are constantly searching for complex solutions to improve their health, sardines represent something different, something simple, effective, and backed by both nutritional science and practicality. Sometimes, the most powerful changes don't come from adding more complexity, but from rediscovering what has been quietly overlooked all along. What truly sets sardines apart is not just that they are affordable or clean, but the extraordinary concentration of nutrients packed into such a small serving. When you look closely at their nutritional profile, it becomes clear why they have such a powerful effect on the body at a cellular level. First, sardines are one of the richest natural sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. These are not just healthy fats, they play a direct role in reducing inflammation, stabilizing cell membranes, and supporting communication between cells. Omega-3s help keep your blood vessels flexible, improve circulation, and regulate immune responses. At the same time, they influence how your body handles abnormal or damaged cells, which is a key factor in long-term health. In addition to omega-3s, sardines provide a high amount of complete protein. This means they contain all essential amino acids your body needs for repair and maintenance. Protein is not only important for muscle strength, but also for rebuilding tissues, supporting enzyme production, and maintaining the structure of your cells. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at maintaining muscle and repairing damage, making high-quality protein even more critical. Another key component is vitamin D, a nutrient that many people are deficient in, especially older adults. Vitamin D is far more than just a bone vitamin. It plays a regulatory role in immune function, inflammation control, and cellular signaling. Without enough vitamin D, your body's repair systems and defense mechanisms cannot function at full capacity. Sardines are also an excellent source of vitamin B12, which is essential for nerve health, red blood cell formation, and energy production. A deficiency in B12 can lead to fatigue, weakness, and impaired neurological function. Maintaining adequate levels helps ensure that oxygen is delivered efficiently throughout the body and that the nervous system remains stable. Selenium is another powerful nutrient found in sardines. This trace mineral acts as a key component of the body's antioxidant defense system. It helps neutralize harmful free radicals and protects cells from oxidative damage. In simple terms, selenium helps shield your body from the internal stress that accelerates aging and disease. Finally, sardines contain taurine, an amino acid that is often overlooked but plays an important role in multiple systems. Taurine supports heart function, helps regulate the nervous system, and contributes to the stability of cell membranes. It also has a calming effect on the body, promoting balance rather than overstimulation. When you combine all of these nutrients, omega-3s, complete protein, vitamin D, B12, selenium, and taurine, you begin to see why sardines are so unique. It's not just the presence of individual nutrients, but how they work together in a natural, synergistic way. Instead of relying on multiple supplements to achieve similar effects, sardines provide a complete package in a single, simple food. And that synergy is what makes the difference between basic nutrition and truly functional, body-supporting nourishment. One of the most fascinating mechanisms behind the benefits of sardines lies in how omega-3 fatty acids interact with abnormal cells, especially through a process known as selective cytotoxicity. This term may sound complex, but the concept is surprisingly simple. Selective cytotoxicity means the ability to destroy harmful cells like cancer cells while leaving healthy cells unharmed. In modern medicine, this is considered the holy grail of treatment. Most therapies struggle with this balance, often damaging both healthy and diseased cells at the same time. But what researchers have observed with omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA found in sardines, is something very different. When you consume these omega-3s, they are absorbed and incorporated directly into the membranes of your cells. Every cell in your body has a membrane, a protective outer layer that controls what enters and exits. In healthy cells, this membrane is stable, flexible, and well-regulated. Omega-3 fatty acids actually strengthen these membranes, improving their function and resilience. But in abnormal or cancerous cells, the situation is very different. Cancer cells grow rapidly and uncontrollably. Because of this, their structure is unstable. Their cell membranes are weaker, more chaotic, and less capable of handling stress. When omega-3 fatty acids integrate into these unstable membranes, they trigger a chain reaction inside the cell. This is where reactive oxygen species, ROS, come into play. ROS are highly reactive molecules that, in controlled amounts, are part of normal cellular processes. However, when their levels rise too high inside a cell, they create oxidative stress, essentially overwhelming the cell's internal systems. In cancer cells, the presence of omega-3 fatty acids increases ROS production to a level that the cell cannot manage. The result is a self-destruct sequence known as apoptosis, or programmed cell death. Instead of growing and spreading, the cancer cell is pushed into a state where it effectively shuts itself down. Its internal machinery collapses, and it is removed by the body's natural cleanup systems. Meanwhile, healthy cells respond very differently. They have strong antioxidant defenses and stable structures, allowing them to handle the presence of omega-3s without being overwhelmed. In fact, rather than being damaged, healthy cells often become more efficient and resilient when exposed to these fatty acids. A simple way to understand this is through an analogy. Imagine two structures. One is a solid brick house, and the other is a fragile house made of cards. Now imagine a strong wind passing through. The brick house remains standing, perhaps even becoming more stable as it settles. But the house of cards collapses instantly. Omega-3 fatty acids act like that wind. Healthy cells, the brick houses, remain intact and even benefit. But unstable cancer cells, the house of cards, cannot withstand the pressure and break apart. This selective effect is what makes omega-3s so unique. Rather than acting as a blunt force that affects everything equally, they create conditions inside the body that favor stability, balance, and controlled function. Cells that are already healthy adapt and improve. Cells that are dysfunctional and unstable are pushed beyond their limits. Over time, this mechanism contributes to a healthier internal environment, one where abnormal cells are less likely to survive and multiply. And perhaps most importantly, this process works in alignment with your body's natural systems. It doesn't override them, it supports them. Instead of forcing change from the outside, it strengthens the body's ability to regulate itself from within. That is what makes this mechanism not only powerful, but sustainable. Now we arrive at one of the most powerful and surprising mechanisms, how specific nutrients can influence the survival of abnormal cells through a process known as selective cytotoxicity. This concept is extremely important, yet rarely explained in simple terms. Selective cytotoxicity means the ability to target and destroy harmful cells, such as cancer cells, while leaving healthy cells untouched. In modern medicine, achieving this balance is incredibly difficult. Most treatments, like chemotherapy, affect both healthy and unhealthy cells, which is why they often come with severe side effects. But what researchers have discovered about omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA and DHA found in sardines, is fundamentally different. When you consume these fatty acids, they don't just float around randomly. They become part of your cells. Specifically, they integrate into the outer layer of every cell, the cell membrane. This membrane controls everything: how nutrients enter, how waste exits, and how the cell communicates with its environment. In healthy cells, this is a stable and well-organized system. When omega-3 cells are incorporated into these membranes, they actually improve flexibility and function. The cell becomes more efficient, more resilient, and better able to handle stress. But cancer cells are not built the same way. They grow rapidly, divide uncontrollably, and as a result, their structure becomes unstable. Their membranes are weaker, less organized, and far more vulnerable to disruption. This difference is where the selective effect begins. Once omega-3 fatty acids enter these unstable cancer cells, they trigger an increase in reactive oxygen species, ROS. Now, ROS are not always harmful. In small amounts, they are part of normal cellular activity. But when ROS levels rise too high, they create oxidative stress, a kind of internal overload that damages the cell from within. Healthy cells can manage this. They have strong antioxidant systems that keep ROS under control. Cancer cells cannot. Because of their unstable structure and high metabolic demand, they are already under stress. When omega-3s increase ROS levels inside these cells, it pushes them past their limit. Their internal systems begin to fail. Their mitochondria, the energy centers of the cell, become overwhelmed. And this triggers a critical process, apoptosis, or programmed cell death. Apoptosis is not chaos. It is controlled self-destruction. The cell recognizes that it is damaged beyond repair and activates a sequence that leads to its own removal. It breaks down in an organized way, preventing further damage to surrounding tissue. In simple terms, the cancer cell doesn't explode, it shuts itself down. Meanwhile, healthy cells remain stable. Their membranes are reinforced by omega-3s, their antioxidant defenses remain strong, and they continue functioning normally or even better than before. A simple analogy makes this easier to understand. Imagine two buildings in the middle of a storm. One is a solid, well-built structure made of reinforced concrete. The other is poorly constructed, unstable, and already cracking. When the storm hits, the strong building remains standing. It may even become more stable as weak points are reinforced. But the unstable building collapses under the pressure. Omega-3 fatty acids act like that storm. Healthy cells, the strong buildings adapt and improve. Cancer cells, the unstable structures, cannot survive the stress and collapse. This is what makes selective cytotoxicity so powerful. It doesn't attack everything blindly. It creates conditions where only the weakest, most unstable cells are eliminated, while the healthy ones are preserved and supported. Over time, this shifts the balance inside the body. Instead of allowing abnormal cells to grow and multiply, the internal environment becomes less favorable for their survival. And perhaps the most important part is this: this process works with your body, not against it. It doesn't override your natural systems. It enhances them. It gives your body the tools it needs to do what it was designed to do all along: identify, control, and remove damaged cells before they become a larger problem. That is not just treatment. That is prevention at the deepest level. While the ability to target abnormal cells is powerful, there is another mechanism that may be just as important: how omega-3 fatty acids help control inflammation and reshape the internal environment of the body. Because cancer and many chronic diseases do not develop in isolation. They grow in a specific environment, and one of the most dangerous environments is chronic inflammation. Inflammation itself is not the enemy. In fact, it is a natural and necessary response. When your body detects injury or abnormal cells, it triggers inflammation as a defense mechanism. This process helps isolate damage, activate immune cells, and begin repair. But the problem arises when inflammation does not turn off. Instead of resolving, it lingers at a low level for months or even years. This is known as chronic inflammation, and it creates a constant state of stress inside the body. In this environment, tissues are repeatedly damaged, repair processes become less efficient, and abnormal cells gain an advantage. This is where omega-3 fatty acids play a critical role. When your body processes EPA and DHA, it converts them into specialized molecules called resolvins, protectins, and mycins. Among these, resolvins are particularly important because they act as signals that actively shut down inflammation once it has done its job. Think of inflammation as a fire. In a healthy system, the fire starts when needed, burns just enough to eliminate the threat, and is then extinguished. But in chronic inflammation, the fire never fully goes out. It continues to smolder, damaging everything around it. Resolvins act like the fire department arriving at the right time, not to stop the initial defense, but to clean up and restore balance. Without enough omega-3 fatty acids, your body struggles to produce these resolving molecules. The inflammatory response becomes prolonged and uncontrolled. Over time, this creates a microenvironment where abnormal cells are more likely to survive, adapt, and grow. Research has shown that chronic inflammation is one of the key drivers of tumor development. It promotes DNA damage, supports the formation of new blood vessels, and weakens the body's ability to eliminate abnormal cells effectively. By increasing the availability of resolvins, omega-3s help interrupt this cycle. They reduce unnecessary inflammation, protect healthy tissue, and restore a more stable internal environment, one where abnormal cells are less likely to thrive. This doesn't just slow down damage, it changes the conditions inside your body. And when the environment changes, everything else follows. Instead of fueling disease, your body begins to support balance, repair, and long-term resilience. Another critical mechanism involves something called angiogenesis, the process by which tumors create their own blood supply. In the early stages, abnormal cells are small and limited. But for a tumor to grow beyond a certain size, it must build new blood vessels to supply oxygen and nutrients. Without this supply, it simply cannot expand. Think of a tumor like a growing city. At first, it may survive with minimal resources. But as it grows, it needs roads, infrastructure, and constant delivery of supplies. Blood vessels act as those supply lines. Without them, growth stops. This is where omega-3 fatty acids play an important role. Research has shown that DHA, one of the key omega-3s found in sardines, can interfere with the signaling pathways tumors use to trigger angiogenesis. In simple terms, it makes it harder for tumors to build new blood vessels. By disrupting this process, omega-3s effectively cut off the supply lines that tumors depend on. Without a steady flow of nutrients and oxygen, abnormal cells struggle to grow and spread. Their development slows down, and in some cases, they may stop progressing altogether. This mechanism does not attack the tumor directly. It targets the support system that allows it to survive. And when you remove that support, the entire structure becomes unstable. Over time, this creates an environment where abnormal growth is no longer sustainable, giving your body a greater advantage in maintaining control. Beyond targeting abnormal cells and reducing inflammation, there is another powerful mechanism that often goes unnoticed: the ability to activate stem cells and support the body's natural repair system. Inside your body, there are millions of stem cells quietly waiting. These are undifferentiated cells, meaning they have the potential to become many different types of cells, including muscle cells, nerve cells, and even immune cells. You can think of them as your body's internal repair crew, ready to rebuild and restore damaged tissues when needed. However, as we age, this system becomes less active. Chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and nutrient deficiencies can keep these stem cells in a dormant state. Instead of repairing and regenerating tissue, they remain inactive, and the body gradually loses its ability to recover efficiently. This is where the nutrients found in sardines play a critical role. First, omega-3 fatty acids help create a more favorable environment for stem cell activity. By reducing inflammation and stabilizing cell membranes, they signal to the body that conditions are safe for repair. In a high-inflammatory environment, the body prioritizes defense. But when inflammation is reduced, it shifts toward regeneration. Next is vitamin D, which acts as a regulator for stem cell differentiation. In simple terms, vitamin D helps stem cells decide what type of cell they should become. Without sufficient vitamin D, this process becomes inefficient, and the body struggles to replace damaged or aging cells properly. Selenium adds another layer of protection. As a key component of the body's antioxidant systems, it helps shield stem cells from oxidative damage. This is important because stem cells are highly sensitive to stress. If they are damaged, their ability to function is reduced. Selenium acts like a protective barrier, allowing these cells to operate in a more stable environment. Together, these nutrients create the conditions needed for activation. Instead of remaining dormant, stem cells receive the signals and support they need to begin repairing tissue, whether it's improving muscle function, supporting blood vessels, or maintaining organ health. Think of it like a construction team waiting on standby. If the environment is chaotic, fires burning, damage spreading, they cannot begin their work. But once stability is restored and resources are available, they step in and start rebuilding. This is what happens inside your body. By providing the right nutrients, you are not forcing repair. You are allowing your body to do what it was designed to do naturally. Over time, this process contributes to stronger tissues, better function, and a greater ability to recover from stress and damage. And that is the foundation of long-term health, not just preventing problems, but continuously renewing the body from within. Another powerful and often overlooked mechanism is how omega-3 fatty acids help reduce visceral fat, the most dangerous type of fat in the body. Unlike the fat you can see under your skin, visceral fat is hidden deep inside your abdomen, wrapped around vital organs such as the liver, pancreas, and intestines. You cannot pinch it, and in many cases, you cannot even see it. A person may appear slim on the outside, yet still carry a significant amount of visceral fat internally. What makes this type of fat so harmful is not just its location, but its behavior. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It continuously releases inflammatory molecules, such as cytokines, into the bloodstream. These signals promote chronic inflammation throughout the body, disrupt normal metabolic function, and create an environment that supports disease development. In simple terms, visceral fat doesn't just sit there, it actively works against your health. This is where omega-3 fatty acids come into play. Research has shown that omega-3s can influence how your body stores and uses fat at a genetic and metabolic level. They activate pathways involved in fat oxidation, meaning they help your body burn fat more efficiently instead of storing it. At the same time, omega-3s reduce the inflammatory signals produced by visceral fat. As inflammation decreases, the protective shield around this fat weakens, making it easier for the body to break it down. Another important effect is the activation of brown adipose tissue, often referred to as brown fat. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat burns energy to produce heat. Omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to support this process, essentially turning your body into a more efficient fat-burning system. Think of visceral fat like a hidden factory producing harmful signals. Omega-3s do two things at once. They reduce the factory's output and gradually shut it down by increasing fat burning. Over time, this leads to a measurable reduction in visceral fat even without drastic changes in overall diet. As this fat decreases, inflammation drops, metabolic health improves, and the internal environment becomes less favorable for disease. This is important because many of the risks associated with aging, such as heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers, are closely linked to excess visceral fat. By targeting this hidden fat, you are not just improving your appearance, you are addressing one of the root drivers of chronic disease. And once again, this effect works in harmony with your body's natural systems, helping restore balance rather than forcing change. At this point, it's important to step back and look at the scientific evidence supporting these mechanisms. Because while the explanations may sound compelling, what truly matters is whether they are backed by real research. Several studies from respected institutions have examined the effects of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly those found in sardines, on cancer, inflammation, and metabolic health. One notable study conducted by researchers at Fox Chase Cancer Center in collaboration with Pennsylvania State University investigated how omega-3 fatty acids affect cancer cell behavior. The results showed that omega-3s significantly reduce the proliferation of cancer cells in multiple cell lines. In some of the most aggressive forms, such as triple-negative breast cancer, cell growth was reduced by up to 90% under laboratory conditions. Additionally, the ability of these cancer cells to migrate and spread decreased by 20–60%, suggesting a strong inhibitory effect. Another major study, known as the Do Health Trial, followed more than 2,100 adults. aged 70 and older, across several European countries over a period of 3 years. Participants who combined omega-3 supplementation with adequate vitamin D and light physical activity experienced a 61% reduction in overall cancer risk compared to those who did not follow the same protocol. This was a randomized controlled trial, which is considered one of the highest standards in clinical research. Further evidence comes from metabolic studies. Research published in Biochemistry and Cell Biology demonstrated that omega-3 fatty acids can reduce visceral fat accumulation even without significant changes in diet. In addition, a clinical trial involving individuals with prediabetes showed improvements in insulin sensitivity and lower HbA1c levels after regular consumption of sardines over several months. Another large observational study from Vanderbilt University Medical Center involving over 5,000 participants found that individuals with higher omega-3 intake had a 33% lower risk of developing colorectal adenomas, precursors to colon cancer. This effect was linked to a reduction in inflammatory compounds associated with tumor growth. Taken together, these findings are not isolated or theoretical. They represent measurable biological effects observed across different populations and study designs. While no single food can guarantee prevention or cure, the consistency of these results highlights an important point. Certain nutrients, when consumed regularly and in adequate amounts, can significantly influence the internal conditions that determine long-term health. And that is where nutrition moves beyond basic sustenance. It becomes a tool for shaping how the body functions at its core. Now that you understand the mechanisms and the science behind it, the next step is applying this knowledge in a simple and structured way. This is where the 5-day sardine protocol comes in, a practical approach designed to deliver a concentrated dose of key nutrients in a short period of time. The core idea is straightforward. Consume 3 tins of sardines per day for 5 consecutive days. Each tin typically contains around 3.5 to 4 ounces, providing a powerful combination of omega-3 fatty acids, protein, and essential micronutrients. With 3 tins per day, you are delivering a therapeutic level of omega-3s often exceeding 4,000 milligrams daily, which is where many of the biological effects begin to take place. To maximize the benefits, the way you consume them matters. In the morning, start with 1 tin of sardines. You can eat them directly or pair them with simple, hydrating foods like cucumber or celery. Adding a squeeze of fresh lemon juice can help improve mineral absorption, especially calcium and selenium. A pinch of sea salt can also support electrolyte balance. Around midday, have your second tin. This is a good time to combine sardines with a light meal, such as a salad with olive oil, leafy greens, and a few nuts. This not only improves taste, but also adds additional nutrients and healthy fats that support absorption. In the evening, consume your third tin. Pair it with lightly cooked vegetables like broccoli or fermented foods such as sauerkraut. These additions support digestion, gut health, and provide compounds that further enhance the body's repair processes. Throughout the day, it's important to stay hydrated and maintain proper electrolyte levels. Because this protocol is relatively high in protein and low in carbohydrates, your body may release more water and minerals than usual. Ensuring adequate intake of potassium, magnesium, and sodium helps prevent fatigue or discomfort. Consistency is key. The goal of the 5-day protocol is not immediate transformation, but to initiate changes at the cellular level, reducing inflammation, improving membrane function, and supporting metabolic balance. After the 5 days, you don't need to continue at the same intensity. Instead, transition to a maintenance routine of consuming sardines 3 to 4 times per week to sustain the benefits over time. This approach is simple, structured, and practical, making it easier to follow while still delivering meaningful results. While the 5-day protocol is simple, there are a few common mistakes that can significantly reduce its effectiveness. The first mistake is choosing the wrong type of sardines. Not all products are equal. Many people unknowingly buy sardines packed in soybean oil, sunflower oil, or other refined vegetable oils. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which can promote inflammation and directly counteract the benefits of omega-3s. To get the full effect, it is essential to choose sardines packed in extra virgin olive oil, or, at minimum, water. The second mistake is trying to replace whole sardines with fish oil supplements. While supplements provide omega-3s, they lack the complete nutritional profile found in whole sardines, such as protein, vitamin D, selenium, calcium, and taurine. These nutrients work together in a synergistic way, amplifying the overall effect. Relying on supplements alone means missing out on this powerful combination. The third mistake is quitting too early. Many people expect immediate, visible changes within a few days and become discouraged if they don't see dramatic results. However, the most important changes are happening at the cellular level, reducing inflammation, improving membrane function, and activating repair processes. These effects take time to build. The 5-day protocol is just the beginning, not the end. Consistency beyond those initial days is what leads to meaningful, lasting results. At the end of the day, your health is not determined by chance alone, and it is not controlled entirely by your age or your genetics. What matters most is the environment you create inside your body. Every day, through the choices you make, you are either supporting your body's ability to repair, protect, and regulate itself, or slowly weakening those systems without realizing it. The most important thing to understand is this: you have more control than you think. You don't need complicated routines or expensive solutions to begin making a difference. Sometimes the most powerful changes come from simple, consistent actions like choosing the right foods and giving your body the nutrients it actually needs. So instead of just watching, try it for yourself. Follow the 5-day protocol. Pay attention to how your body feels. Notice the small changes: your energy, your focus, your comfort. These are the signals that something is shifting beneath the surface. And when you do, come back and share your experience. Leave a comment about what you noticed. Share this with someone who might need it. Because sometimes, the information that seems simple can have the biggest impact, especially when it reaches the right person at the right time. Start today, stay consistent, and give your body the chance to work the way it was designed to.